welcome Dr. Sailaja Mene, she's from Pune, and we also welcome Dr. Ramesh Sir, Secretary of NNF Telangana State, and we also welcome Dr. Lallu Prasad and other faculties who have come to attend this workshop. Now I request Dr. Ramesh Reddy Sir to say a few words and welcome.
Hearty welcome to Hyderabad for our guests who have come all the way to participate in this workshop. Dr. Shailaja Manne Garu and Dr. Sadasivan Sitaraman. The Superintendent of Nilofer Hospital, one of the premier pediatric hospitals in the country, Dr. Murali Krishna Garu. The Professor and Head of Neonatology, Dr. Alimelu. Professor of Neonatology, Dr. Himavindu Singh. Professor and HOD of Pediatrics, Dr. Usharani Garu. The RMO of Nilofer Hospital. And the other senior faculty, Dr. Nirmala, Dr. Ramesh, Dr. Lalu, and all my other colleagues here. I think the journey of this blood bank, for us, this milk bank is going on for last so many years, and today, that is where we stand today. We were very proud when this when this, being a surgeon, my mind, the first thing which comes is the blood bank, not the milk bank. But as a pediatric surgeon myself, I think that is also a priority for my department also. So when the concept of milk bank was conceived, selecting the hospital like Nilofer, which has nearly about 1,000 beds, and so many mothers will be coming here with their neonates. And not only that, we have an attached maternity wing. That is a specialty of this hospital. The concept of starting Nilofer, basically from the donations initially given by the then Nawab's wife, that is Nilofer Madam, was basically to provide mother and child care in the hospital. Keeping that in mind, the same trend is continuing, and now today we can proudly say that all the complicated deliveries from various maternity centers in the state will be referred to this hospital, because we have attached level 3 neonatal facilities here, and at the same time we have a very active and a very advanced pediatric surgical center here. So all the issues as far as the neonates are concerned can be tackled in this hospital. So this is one of the main referral centers in this part of the country. So in this type of hospital, having a milk bank made a lot of difference, and with the Datri, Sueshna, and so many other organizations joining hands with the government of Telangana and Nilofer Hospital, and what we are seeing today is a reality. And it is doing an excellent job, and especially for the babies who are coming here. All of you are pediatricians here, and you know the importance of mother's milk being given within the first few hours after delivery. And there are so many conditions wherein the mother may not be able to feed the baby, and that is where this milk bank comes into play. And not only that, there are significant amount of donation of milk also in this bank, and it is a very scientifically run bank. And as a nodal center, I am sure in the days to come, the government of Telangana is very particular, especially our Honorable CM, sir, that the main thrust should be on the mother and child. Keeping that in mind, we are working, and you must be aware that already there is a program called as the KCR Kit, and which has significantly increased the institutional deliveries, and with that, there is a significant fall in the overall maternal mortality or the neonatal mortality. So these are the steps what the state is taking, and this initiative of a milk bank has definitely contributed to it. Not only that, this should be a center which will be handholding for the other milk banks which we are going to establish in other medical colleges. Now our state is going on a very rapid advancing the facilities, especially the tertiary care facilities in the state, and we have already 9 medical colleges in the government sector and another 8 medical colleges the government has announced, and shortly, and maybe in a year or two we'll be having medical colleges in each and every district of the state. We have 33 districts, and imagine a milk bank being developed in all these institutes. What type of facility we can provide to the rural population also, because most of these medical colleges which are there are not in the towns, they're all interior areas which are now made into districts, and I think this goes a long way. And as a part of the Lambacon conference, this pre-workshop, I'm sure that many of my colleagues from the state also are participating, will be able to interact and will gain extra knowledge on this. And I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to be here and share my views with you. And I thank the faculty who has come along from different parts of the country, and all the delegates. Thank you.
So for the first lecture, I call upon Dr. Himabindu Singh, Professor of Neonatology at Nilofer Hospital. You will all be well aware of Madam. She is a very active member in the IAP, PADS, and also she is passionate is about newborn care, and she has been involved in so many activities, and she is a teacher for DNB, DM, and MD pediatric students. We welcome you, Madam.
And along with the whole team, Dr. Alimelu, Dr. Rakesh, Dr. Nirmala, staff, the faculty of Nilofer, along with external faculty who have we have come together. Dr. Sadhika is also part of this workshop. This is we really appreciate that all those are attending. Some of us are our own staff here, and I welcome all of you, Dr. Rama and others. Who have come from, some of them have come from all other parts of the country also. Very unique conference, lactation management. उसके ऊपर एक conference है ना, is something that we are showing that we are really giving so much importance to this human milk promotion, and especially the milk bank aspects. You all are aware that Nilofer has a wonderful lactation management center which is called the Dhatri CLMC. Comprehensive CLMC is Comprehensive Lactation Management Center. So these are now the we are all now advocating that we all know the importance of breastfeed, isn't it? But some conditions are there where we are not able to give human milk to human babies, especially in our Nilofer. You can see that high load center. Many of them are we have outborn babies who are admitted here. Mothers are not around to give their own milk to their own babies. So in that condition, we really require this human milk. And this concept is taught up. I'll just go through a little bit of this history, how it all started, and then what are the guidelines. The government has given recently guidelines from 2017. So how to establish a CLMC. So those of you who are interested to start this lactation management centers, whether it is private or public sector, the government has given certain guidelines. WHO has given long back to provide donors milk. That is in 2008, World Health Assembly, 24th May 2008. It has said it's a call for all of us, the healthcare providers and the organizations, to investigate as a risk reduction strategy the safe use of donor milk through human milk banks for vulnerable infants, in particular premature and low birth weight and immunocompromised infants, and to promote appropriate hygienic measures for storage, conservation and use of human milk. So this was a call given by WHO long back in 2008. I think it's now more than 14 years. So this, how it all originated, in 1909, the first human milk bank was opened in Austria. And in North America also in 1919 in Boston, in USA. And UK also began 75 years ago, when first time they had quadruplets, they were saved by giving human milk. And Brazil Milk Bank was also established in 1940s. So that was the history. So you can see it's more than a century. So this is a global snapshot. About 550 human milk banks are operational in 37 countries. And but for India, I think Dr. Armida Fernandez Milk Bank, she started in Mumbai in the Sian Hospital in 1989. So this was the first human milk bank in India. So I know hers very closely, and I'm really fortunate that I did a thesis under her guidance. And long back when I did my MD Pediatrics, I was very passionate on newborn care right from that 1990s, and conservative care protocols on low birth weight babies. So that was my topic. And but she established long back. See, after 1989, it took nearly 10 years for us to again think about the importance of human milk bank. In India, really we are lagged behind, but off late we are really speeding up the establishment of human milk banks. So currently, about 90 milk banks are existing in India. Okay, so the last for all this development, most of the development happened in the last 3-4 years. So we all know the importance of human milk and the bank, because the human milk may not be always available for all babies. So we'll go through the concept and how to set up and the process. So as I said, this is the availability of, the main thing was the availability of safe donor human milk at NICUs and SNCUs is critical, we know, but it was not always available. So human milk is definitely important to ensure that every sick and preterm baby receives it, because we know the anti-infective factors, the importance on the survival of these babies, and it's 10 times more important, especially for a preterm or low birth weight infant compared to term babies, the human milk. And for preterm and IUGRs, it also has a better survival in these babies with decreased rate of infections. But unfortunately, these are the initial phases are the most vulnerable when they're just born and they're admitted in NICU. That is the time where actually they're fighting infection, or they're in a critical phase of medical problems can be there for these preterm babies. So that time the mothers are not available. That is the time the mother is already there in some other hospital, C-section or delivered somewhere, and that is the most critical period for that child, especially for a preterm. So there is definitely a need for such banks, human milk banks. It's just like our blood banks. No, blood is something we cannot replace with any other. No, can we give something else instead of blood? No, blood is a human product, and somebody has to donate. Then we bank it, and it's voluntary, and it has to be given safely. Similarly like that, now the human milk is also being promotion. Now we are trying to promote voluntary donation, process it properly, keep it in a bank, and give to those who really require. So this the concept, actually we all know that when some of the mothers who are babies are admitted in NICU, who are healthy mothers, can have more milk in fact, and that baby, her own baby, is not ready to take so much, so she has an excess milk, and she can, many of the mothers felt that what should I do? It can lead to engorgement. And in Petlapur, as you see, our own satellite hospital, so I have been there. A lot of mothers have problems. What are they doing? Pindi padestunar. Okay, so instead of that is such a precious, I should say, the gold or nectar of life. So that can always be processed, banked, and given to other babies. And then some of the mothers voluntarily pump out milk to donate to the bank, and with all this milk from different donor mothers are actually pooled, then are pasteurized with a specialized equipment, and then you screen before you actually give to another baby, and this has to be used within 6 months. And this supply of this milk is actually, we try to prioritize, because we have a shortage even in Nilofer. The milk bank is not sufficient to give to all the babies, so we prioritize. First priority is for premature and IUGR babies who are being cared in the NICUs, and then we can give to others. This is the first priority, and especially we have put in Nilofer low birth weight, less than 18 or 15 grams. So this has definitely shown improved survival and decreased infections. So we want to avoid formula feeds at any cost. So this is actually a very busy slide, but I'll just read out to you the impact of the donor human milk. Is there any pointer, Omega? Mandar pointer unda? So we have seen that there's a reduced incidence of sepsis in the by 19% in the first 28 days, and it has definitely a protective effect compared to the formula. Also decreased incidence of necrotizing enterocolitis, as much as 79%, and even retinopathy of prematurity. When you give this human milk, the lower rates of ROPs in premature babies. And feeding tolerance is much, much better with human milk compared to formula. And for all these reasons, we really have to promote human milk. And the cost of stay, when the child is put on the human milk, there's a reduced complications for the baby, improved survival, and they are faster discharged from the facility. So the readmission rate is also quite less. So significantly greater score of mental, motor, and behavioral ratings are there in these babies. So the guidelines have been given by the ministry to guide the program officers. Like suppose in any public sector, program officers are there in the NHMs. So to guide them how to establish a CLMC for the donor human milk. And they are all guidelines given very specifically. It's all very objective and not subjective. No, you cannot do as you want. There are guidelines, we have to stick on to it. Guidelines to how to collect, how to store, how to process and dispense for babies which are admitted in health facilities. And this is for the CLMCs. There's something called even lactation management units. And there also the guidelines have been given for collecting, storing and dispensing. Even for the lactation support units, how to give lactation support to the mothers at all delivery points. So there are three things: CLMCs, lactation management units, and lactation support units. So this is, like I said, 3 units are there. CLMC is what we have. In Dhatri Milk Bank is a CLMC, a comprehensive lactation management center. So these are actually established in all medical colleges where there is an NICU. So we have a medical college and we have an attached NICU. So that's where we can establish a CLMC. But in the phase 2, that is in the phase 1, the medical colleges are targeted by the government. In the next phase, all the CLMCs will be established in district hospitals also. But the lactation management units are established at district hospital level and where there is a functional SNCU. And the lactation support units should be there at all delivery points. Wherever the delivery is happening, this lactation support unit should be there. So these are the levels of facilities where lactation management can happen and what the government is proposing. So in the CLMC is the highest order. That is what we have, the highest order, and it is definitely, the ideal location should be in a large district hospital or medical college. So the key feature here is there is a component of milk donation, processing, storage and dispensing of donor human milk. For lactation management unit, again it is at district hospitals as I mentioned, where expression of mother's own milk and storage and dispensing. Donor component is not there. So mother's own milk can be stored and dispensed. And in lactation support, which is we are advocating at all delivery points, here we are there should be a skilled lactation support and counseling. This should happen. Okay, so just lactation support and counseling will be happening at all delivery units, which is under the lactation support unit. Is it clear? Okay, so what is a CLMC and LMU and LSSU? So, but we need to have some prerequisites. So anybody cannot apply for a CLMC. So there are some prerequisites. So any facility, wherever you somebody is planning to have a CLMC, should have a written policy. First of all, your facility should have a written policy of breastfeeding. So we all should be promoters of breastfeeding. So then only the government will think of giving this CLMC, can sanction CLMC for you. So we should have a written policy, must practice, all the good breastfeeding practices should be there. Like early initiation of breastfeeding should be happening, and irrespective of whether it's normal or C-section. Okay, so that we have to ensure. So your center, wherever you want to establish CLMC, should have a written policy, should have practices like early initiation of breastfeeding should happen, whether it is normal or C-section, and must practice policy of bedding in, and must not separate the baby from the mother at any point of time. Okay, this is a prerequisite. And must provide IVCF counseling at each contact. Suppose you go for the postnatal round, that is a contact. So any contact with the antenatal, postnatal, or even when they come for immunization or any checkup. So any contact of the mother baby with the healthcare professional, postgraduates, all of you, if you are sitting in the follow-up OP, please ask. So IVCF counseling should happen at any point, even in the follow-up. And then must practice only breastfeeding and not artificial feeds. Even for sick babies, preterm babies, LBW babies, cleft palate, HIV mother. So even in these conditions should be practicing to give human milk only. And must be compliant with the provisions of IMS Act 2003. So these are the prerequisites. Okay, is that registered in your thing? Okay, so you should be basically a baby and mother friendly hospital. So mother's own milk is the best we know, and even for preterm sick and LBW babies, and should be fed on priority. So whenever the mother's own milk is insufficient or not available, the donor human milk is the next best alternative to bridge the gap. Okay, so in the order of giving mother's own milk, donor milk, then only other things come, formula or the animal milk. So we have to promote either human milk, mother's own milk or donor milk. See, in the other prerequisites, your center should have a minimum bed strength of 20 beds NICU, along with SNCU for establishing a CLMC, and 12 beds for establishing a LMU, the lactation management unit. So at least 20 beds should be there for CLMC. Must have a high caseload of sick newborns. Must have dedicated refrigerator for storing human milk. Should have provision for admitting mothers of outborn babies also close to the NICU. Should have adequate space, at least 350 square meters for establishing a CLMC and 160 for LMU. So this is a space, 350 and 160. Close to, and this should be close to the NICU or SNCU. And in all the national guidelines on lactation management should be followed in the public health facility, and must have full-time neonatologists like we have. We have full-time doctors here or a pediatrician and dedicated staff for lactation management. This is very, very essential for CLMC, and must have lab facility for testing hepatitis B, syphilis, VDRL and HIV. So these are the prerequisites. Coming to the essential areas, what a CLMC should have is a reception and come administrative area. First, there should be some area where you have some reception, where you invite and welcome the mothers. Then there should be a counseling area where the mothers are now taken for counseling and making them ready for either managing their own problems or donating human milk. Milk expression area, cleaning area, autoclaving area, milk storage area, then a lab facility, then to processing area. So these are the essential areas in a CLMC. Now I am sure I think you're not able to see from there, but I'll just read out what is the staff pattern. So CLMC, there should be a full-time posts are there in the CLMC. One is the CLMC manager. So this manager is has routine time 9 to 6 and 6 days a week, and the qualification should be a graduate in hospital administration management. And overall, this CLMC manager will do overall supervision of functioning of CLMC with specific focus on quality, and especially in the processes like donor screening, milk expression, pasteurization, surveillance, dispensing, so maintaining equipment and records. So that's the duty of the CLMC manager. So there are, next staff is the 5 lactation support staff, 5. So 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, 1 in the night. So this qualification of this lactation support staff could be a staff nurse or an A&M, and this is of course the candidate should at least have some hands-on experience on or training in lactation management. And at the end of the training, they should have some skill-based, skills should be there, how to even examine and conduct training in the other places in case they are required to. So what they do, this lactation support staff, is they go for routine rounds. You are seeing in our hospital, you can see the counselors, lactation counselors and support staff. They are going to the postnatal wards, pediatric wards, SNCUs, and for providing lactation support to the mothers. See, remember, CLMC is not just for donating milk. Oh, okay. So first we have to see, even help those mothers who have the problems of even feeding their own babies. So that also comes under CLMC, part of the duty of CLMC. So they go there and actually provide support to the mothers, motivate them, and see, of course, if they have an excess milk, to donate milk, and how, and then facilitate and help mothers in milk expression. And of course, the other things are to carry out cleaning, autoclaving equipment, etc., and ensure proper storage, labeling, and record keeping. So that's the duty of the lactation support staff. There's also one CLMC technician who's a LT diploma, and preferably with experience in microbiological testing. So what this person does is milk processing, milk storage, and of course he takes care of cleaning, maintaining all equipment, including that are used in the pasteurization process, and should prepare the labels, maintain records also for pasteurization. There's a microbiologist. Here in our hospital we are outsourcing, okay, but the microbiologist is a part-time post, and one microbiologist who's masters in microbiology with 10 days training in milk cultures from designated training center. So the person's duty is to test the milk and the samples, pre and post pasteurization. They test the samples and ensure serology and record keeping of laboratory data, and of course periodic collection of water, air, and to just see for the swabs whether the thing is all clean, like usually we do for the microbiologists. They see whether any bacteria is growing or not. And then hygiene helper, 2 hours for each shift. One should, basically the existing SNCU staff can be utilized, and 1 per shift will be there as per the state norm for overall cleaning of the center. And this is again, if you come down, so basically it is CLMC manager and 5 lactation support staff, a lab technician, and microbiology help can be outsourced also part-time, and hygiene help is also part-time. And the existing pediatrician or a neonatologist from your department, so they have to be there overall in charge. So who's MBBS or MD pediatrics or neonatology. So there should be 2, one designated as main and other as in charge, additional charge. So 2 people should be involved to overall supervise and ensure smooth functioning of CLMC and ensure in-house expression and storage of human milk, provide regular teaching to all staff regarding lactation support and activities, 5SCF activities. So this is the, the document is there, print the floor diagram of how the center, what are the various rooms which I mentioned. So when you really establish, you can easily download these guidelines and you can go through this thing. So the cost factor, just budget, I'm sure that you may not be interested, but those who are interested to establish a CLMC, they will have to know all this. So see, for a CLMC manager, these are you can give 30,000, for technician 18,000, lactation support staff 15,000, for equipments also, for the cleaning and sterilization equipment actually costs very little bit high for CLMC, 25 lakhs. And then for the furniture, 1,20,000. So all this is given, the budget is given, provision is given for the stationery, etc. So the overall is 47 lakhs 87,000. And this is the staff pattern, and the if you employ anybody, what is the amount you can give to them. So all these guidelines are there. And now technical guidelines, process flow. So I'm just going very briefly, the details will be told later. So you can see this, maybe I'll go like this. Yeah. So first step is, of course, screening of donor mothers. Then you collect the milk, you process the milk. In the processing, pre-pasteurization, pooling and pasteurization will happen. Then you test them, whether it is the donor milk is okay to dispense. Then after you test and you are happy, you store the pasteurized milk. Then there's a process of dispensing. So for each of this process, 6 basic steps, for each of these guidelines are there. So for donor selection, so you have to screen them. So mothers these are the baby mothers you can select. Mothers whose babies are in the NICU, when they cannot feed their own, the babies are very preterm or sick, and mother has, we have to actually encourage expression of breast milk, otherwise the milk supply itself will come down. So to promote that lactation, stimulation, and to see that emptying of the breasts happen, we always encourage them to express and then donate to the milk bank. So mothers in the postnatal wards and KMC wards, and any woman, lactating woman from the staff of the hospital can also donate. Healthy, well-nourished, on history you should see that the mother is healthy and well-nourished, and no tuberculosis or other infectious diseases. And also, if you have to look at the test reports, HIV, VDRL, hepatitis B, if they're negative, if they're performed within the last 6 months, there's no need to repeat. But if you are not done, you have to do the serology for these 3 things: HIV, VDRL, hepatitis B. They should be negative. And no history of hepatitis or blood transfusion in recent past, and the mother should not be on any medications contraindicated while breastfeeding. And the mother should be, most important, willing to donate. There should not be any force or coercion. It should be a voluntary act. And should not have been received any blood or blood products or organ transplant last 1 year, and who has a permanent tattoo within last 1 month. These are all exclusion criteria. Who has a sexual partner suffering with hepatitis B, HIV, HCV, venereal disease, etc., and using illegal drugs, tobacco, alcohol, nicotine, and this is the other exclusion criteria. Even those mothers temporarily can be disqualified if she is having cough for more than 2 weeks, or mastitis, fungal infection, active herpes or chicken pox, and even for if she has received a vaccination 1 month for MMR, and for varicella, chicken pox, if she has received a vaccine, 3 months gap should be given, and this is required. So these are the serological tests which are mandatory. So if they're antennatally, the mother is normally screened, no, in pregnancy. If those reports are there, there's no need to repeat. HIV, hepatitis B, VDRL, and hepatitis C is optional. And after that, once the mother is fitting into the inclusion criteria, then we counsel her. After she accepts and she's willing to donate, we show her how to express the breast milk. So there are two methods we all know, manual and through the breast pumps. So we need to really show her and make her feel comfortable to do that. So we all know the method of manual compression. Then after that, sorry, this is going slow, Mega. Yeah. So after you collect the milk, so there will be the raw milk is transferred. Suppose you have to wait for some pooling. So that can go stored for up to 3 months to prevent bacterial multiplication lipolysis of a -20. Or if it is should be, suppose you want that this milk should be utilized, the mother will say, I will come and use this milk within 24 hours. So this can be kept in the fridge between 2 to 4 degrees. So it depends. Suppose for immediate use, keep in the fridge for 2 to 4. But if you're planning to keep in for a long duration and want to for deep pooling for a long time, so waiting for other samples or more milk to come in from other mothers, you go for -20 degrees. So then if you are using the milk, so mother's own milk need not be pasteurized for her own baby. So for that you have to even actually see where the mother wants to use it. So you have to thaw the milk and give. And remember, first in, first out basis, this has to be used. Okay. And if it is, then you can also shift. Suppose tomorrow there's a requirement from a deep freezer to you can shift to the normal refrigerator 1 day before only, so that prior the temperature comes to at least up to nearly to 2 to 4 degrees. And in case of emergency, you can thaw in a wide container of warm water. And please remember that you should not oven should not be used for heating the heating the milk. And any thawed milk should be used within 4 to 6 hours. So this is for some emergency use. But otherwise, you have to pool. You can pool the mother's different donors will be there. So you can pool all the donor milk. And this has to be, after you pool from 4 to 6 mothers, the milk is pooled. You have to put in different clean containers. So this is the pooled milk is aliquoted into clean containers. And you have to see that the bottle is not fully filled. At least 2/3, leave some space, because once it is in deep freezer, it expands. The milk will expand. So you have to leave some space in the bottle. And all this processing, the aliquoting and the putting into the bottle should be done under aseptic precautions under laminar flow. And the container should be tightly sealed so that you prevent bacterial contamination. Please, you have to number them. Serial numbering should be done for each of this bottle after you seal the bottle. So these are methods, these are the guidelines. Now after this is done, now you can put for pasteurization. So we all know what is the process of pasteurization. Is basically to eliminate bacteria and while retaining most of the beneficial components of milk. And this can actually, the pasteurization even preserves vitamin C and lipid peroxide inactivates, but inactivates the virus, CMV, HIV, and kills most pathogenic bacteria which is found in the breast milk. So there are two methods: low temperature, long time; high temperature, short time. So this pasteurization can happen. So these are the machines which are there in our Dhatri Milk Bank also for the pasteurization of the milk. So the details, Dr. Rakesh will take this topic. So at 62 degrees, you put for half an hour and followed by rapid cooling. After the pasteurization process, you again have to test actually before you dispense. So this raw milk, the milk is, if it is, when you test it, you look for the colony count. And if there's a Staphylococcus aureus, the colony count is exceeding 104, the milk is discarded. And in case the total, even for pasteurized milk, even after pasteurization, the pre-test and the pre-pasteurization post. Before pasteurization, the colony count 104, you discard. After pasteurization, if it is more than 10, you discard. So after the pasteurization, if you think the milk is okay, everything is good as per your criteria, then you have to store them. So how do you store? Then again different methods. For the fresh raw milk, we have seen if the mother wants to use for this own baby, within up to 6 hours, she can put in the room temperature. For only that, the container should be covered and kept as cool as possible. For in a refrigerator, for 24 hours, we can use 2 to 4 degrees at that temperature. and should be stored, the milk should be stored in the main body of the refrigerator. And we also have deep freezers, -20. Up to that we can maintain for 3 months. For pasteurized milk, you can use up to 6 months. Here the donor milk should be stored towards the back of the freezer where temperature mostly remains constant. And for heat processing, we, as just mentioned, 62.5 degrees, we give that temperatures come for half an hour and then go for rapid cooling. So this is how we will store for -20 degrees in a freezer, or pasteurized milk can be stored for 6 months, and if it is to refrigerate only 24 hours, room temperature 4 to 6 hours. So this is a process. Donor milk, she donates and into the human milk bank, and first we need to do screen, then you, of course, we take all the profile of the mother, from where she is coming, all the history, examination is done, and after milk expression, the milk is stored, and you pooled it, and then you, if you are to immediately use it, thaw it, otherwise you go for the pasteurization. If it is donated milk, you have to pasteurize, and post pasteurization you test, and if it is all okay, the colony count is not more than 10, we go store the pasteurized milk. And we have, depending on what equipment you have, deep freezer, freezer, so we know the duration. We have to know that how much time is given for each of this temperature for usage. So then you please, whenever the donor milk is now ready to be dispensed, that has to be dispensed against a prescription. So like in NICU, we give a prescription, our residents write to the milk bank that this is a preterm baby, sick baby. We have made our own guidelines for less than 1500, 1800, we give priorities for the low birth weight babies, and a prescription comes from the doctor to the milk bank, and then only they dispense. Because this has to be, this is very, very important. It's a gold of life, a nectar of life. Somebody is donating, should not be misutilized, or should not be, I should say, should not be, it's a very precious thing. So we have to carefully prioritize and give to the really needy people. So there are a lot of records to be maintained. I'll just go through very this thing. So medical history of each of this, the donor mother has to be maintained. The lifestyle choices, physical examination, all that we do, all that should be recorded. Whoever has donated the milk, the mother's history and the examination findings should be recorded, including a serology results, and when she has donated, the time and the date and volume, how much she has donated, and which staff has received this milk, and then the batch. For the procedure also, there are a lot of records to be maintained, the date and time of pooling, allocating containers per batch, amount of milk pasteurized, date and time of pasteurization, and when this, what is the temperature you have utilized for the pasteurization, what is the microbiological result after pasteurization, and date and time when the donor milk was moved to the freezer, from the freezer to the, moved to freezer, from storage freezer, refrigerator, and all these things have to be very much meticulously maintained. Financial records, supplies, inventory, all these are other things, attendance and administrative aspects, audits, all this, because there are teams who will come and audit your CLMC. Okay, from the NHM, people will come and to see whether your quality assurance is whether your quality is being maintained, and they'll go through all the records. Okay, so therefore it is very, very important, and to have all these records, including the equipment record. So this is in a CLMC. I'm just putting this slide for those who want to really start in a very small setup. Suppose you have just one small nursing home, still you want to have something for donating and giving the human milk. Even in low cost you can actually establish, because what I have shown you is a very huge budget. This is very, very small budget in a small setup. You just require a hot air oven, water bath shaker, then boiler, breast pumps, which are around 2, deep freezer, a refrigerator, and some temperature monitors. Even with this minimum equipment, you can establish something called a milk bank. So this is our Dhatri milk bank, and I just could get these photos. Now I would like to just leave, these are the guidelines, and definitely I think we all would watch that we require more CLMCs. That is the need of the hour, and it is now a government's initiative. Earlier we had a lot of NGOs coming in. We have Santosh here, who has actually been very, very instrumental in establishing the Dhatri milk bank in our Nilofer. But now we have guidelines by the ministry, and they have budgets. Provision is there to establish CLMCs all over in medical colleges. And then district hospitals, we have seen that in 3 phases. So we can ask for it now. First, you see whether your center is having a prerequisite, whether you are mother and baby friendly. Your procedures should be like early initiation, not to separate the baby, all that what I mentioned. So if you fit into the prerequisites and you have minimum met with, they will come and actually and you should of course be very inviting. You should be willing to and show that interest to start a human milk bank. So I'm sure the government will give you the sanction. And there's a need for community participation from where the milk will come. You know, our milk is not being enough. It's a high load center. We have 300 newborns in our setup. So we are able to give only partially. So if suppose we involve the community and do lot of camps for donating human milk, this will be even more successful. And all the SNCUs and NSUs should make themselves eligible. That's what I'm calling, it's a call for action. Make your center eligible to establish a CLMC or some lactation management unit. So let's join this mission of being mother and baby friendly initiative by establishing CLMCs and support systems to ensure the best start for our babies. By doing this, you are just ensuring that every baby on this earth is given the human milk, which is the best start for that baby. So this is not by just telling. Please do some actions in your areas. So that is every neonatal health facility should have a human milk bank. That's a dream. And please don't think of any alternatives. Let's promote human milk. So not all of us can do great things, yes? But each one of us can do something small things with great love. Okay, let's start off and join this mission. Thank you so much.